It was a very cold morning on Sodor, and Thomas and his friends were very cold. Ugh, what we need, suggested Thomas, is a story. A mysterious story, said Percy. But, said Rosie cheerfully, it must have a very happy ending. Driver told me a story once, said Thomas. I want to hear it, said Percy. Me too, agreed Rosie. Okay, said Thomas, so here it goes. While me and you were at the works one day, James had to take the mail. This made James cross. I don't know why Sir Topham Hatt would make me want to do a job that's for a small engine, like Percy. That is because Thomas and Percy are at the works because they are very ill, said his driver. James just sighed and went to get his goods train. James went to get the mail. I can't believe Sir Topham Hatt's making me doing this, he complained. James coupled up to the mail and chuffed away crossly. He was very annoyed and embarrassed about it. Even when James was still continuing, he still complained. Ugh, I can't believe this. All the other engines are gonna think I'm a tank engine, he grumbled to himself. When he finally got to the station, he was relieved. Finally! That took like 1 billion years to complete. Now, James, said his driver, we must take Annie and Clarabelle. What? Said James. Those are for Thomas, and they don't like me going fast, grumbled James. Now, said his driver, they are Sir Topham Hatt's orders. And James grumbled away. His coaches were brought, Annie and Clarabelle were brought to the station by Nia. Phew, this is a heavy job, she said, as James bumped into Annie and Clarabelle. James, be careful, they don't like it when you bump them, shouted Nia. Well, said James, this wouldn't happen if Thomas and Percy were back from the works. And James coupled up and rushed away. But he didn't know that Nia was still behind him. Stop! Stop! Cried Nia. James raced through the countryside. Stop! Cried Nia. Your Annie and Clarabelle are still attached to me. Annie felt very dizzy. Stop! Stop! Cried Annie. Yes, said Clarabelle. You're going too fast, and Nia is still attached to us. However, James realized this, but despite this, he couldn't stop. There were a set of buffers, but it was too late. James crashed off the rails. My splendid paintwork, groaned James. Our splendid wheels, groaned Annie and Clarabelle. My head, groaned Nia. Good thing it's over. Then, Sir Topham Hatt came. James, he said crossly, you are in horrendous trouble. You went much too fast. You were still attached to Nia, and you would not stop complaining about doing the work that Thomas and Percy have. You will be shunting freight cars for the next few weeks. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, said James sadly. James was put back on the rails by Harvey and puffed crossly away to do his shunting, but he had learned his lesson to never go extremely fast when you're still attached to someone when they get your coaches, especially someone else's coaches you're pulling. Wow. But eventually, said Thomas to Rosie and Percy, James did learn his lesson. Wait, really? Said Percy. Did he really? Said Rosie. Yes, said Thomas. He learned never to go fast and be attached to coaches, even if anyone brings them to him. Because Gordon Watson did that to me before you came here, Rosie. And boy, oh boy, was I dizzy and learned never to play a trick on him again. Well, at least we know James learned something, said Percy, and all the 3 engines laughed and giggled.